Hi, it's Queen Inusah here. Guess what? We're going to talk about things that you don't want to talk about because most of the time we don't want to admit that we're stuck. We don't want to admit that our biggest enemy is ourselves. We don't want to admit that we're in a place of fear. We don't want to admit that we just flat out do not have what it takes to push forward. And so today I want to make sure that first of all, I tell you that you do have what it takes to push forward. You do have what it takes to go to the next level. But I always ask the question, how bad do you want it? It's about benefits. The benefit has got to be great enough for you to push past the struggle and the sacrifice. And so I tell people you need to write down the benefits that you expect to achieve when you reach your goal. You need to write down your goals, the benefits, the rewards. It's so important that you do these things, that you write down the goals, the benefits, and the rewards, because on the days that you want to quit, and there's going to be days that you want to quit, when absolutely nothing goes your way, when the money's not coming in, when people's not doing what they're supposed to do, when your employees is not acting right, when people are not doing their job, when your feelings is hurt, when you're frustrated, when you're tired, when you're not feeling well. And so all of these, just to name a few, is things that happen when life happens. And so I want you to understand that life is going to happen, and there's going to be times that you're not going to feel like pushing forward. You're not going to feel like doing the things that you need to do to succeed. And so when these times come, a lot of times we don't want to admit it. We start feeling down and we just really don't want to do anything. And a lot of times we don't even want to admit that we feel like quitting. I want you to know that it is perfectly normal for you to feel that way. And it would be something wrong with you if you didn't feel that way sometimes. I need you to understand that as you walk in your purpose, as you walk in your destiny, as you walk in your greatness, that it is a process, and you do not immediately see the rewards of your sacrifice. You do not immediately see the rewards of your structure and the things that you're trying to do. Sometimes it takes a minute. And sometimes your best laid out plan is not going to work. But you have to be willing to go back to the drawing board, look at that plan, not reinvent the wheel, but just simply perfect that plan. Go back and revise that plan. And so I'm talking about like all of these different emotions that we feel from time to time. I'm talking about how we're going to get frustrated from time to time and we're going to want to quit. But what I want to tell you is that you cannot let fear, frustration, doubt, irritation, because I'll give you an example. The other day, I was just really, really irritated. It was on a day of payroll. Nothing was going right. Nothing happened the way it was supposed to happen. Of course, it didn't stop payroll or anything like that. So payroll was completed. The day continued to go on, and the day still just was not good. It was just a very frustrating, irritating day for me, and I was kind of like in the mindset, okay, so when this is happening, how do you turn the negative into a positive? So I sat down and I wrote down on a piece of paper all of the negative things that I felt like was going on in that day. And so then I said, okay, there is a good and a bad side to everything. So since I'm looking at the bad, how can I turn this negative into a positive? And so then that began my thought process. It began my problem solving process to where I started turning all of the negatives of my day into a positive. And once I started to do that, the day got so much better because I turned it around. So I want you to know that the battlefield is in your mind. And so when bad things happen or negative things happen or you get irritated or you get frustrated, and I want you to know that there's going to be times where you get irritated and frustrated because there is no perfect situations in life. There is no perfect day. There is no day to where you may not have any issue at all. I mean, whether it's small or medium or large or whatever it may be, it's still an issue that has got to be resolved. So there's always going to be something that you have to deal with. That's the reason why I told you early on that it's so important that every time a problem arises that you do a corrective plan of action. So when it repeats itself or if it ever happens again, you don't have to deal with it again because a corrective plan of action is actually in place to resolve whatever that situation may be. And so you have to learn to work smarter, not harder. When you learn from an experience, you write it down so others can learn from the same experience that you just learned from. But I want you to understand that through the frustration, through the doubt, through the fear, through the disappointment, through the hurt, all of these things is part of a growing business. All businesses have growing pains. And so as you work on perfecting your business, as you work on protecting your trade, you cannot give up. You have got to keep going because there's greatness on the inside of you and you win if you don't stop. So am I saying that giving you a time frame? No, I'm not giving you a time frame because every business and every situation is different. But what I do want you to know is that you've got to believe in your gift. You have got to believe in your greatness because if you don't believe in it, you can't make anybody else believe in it. So as you continue to push forward, you will see change begin to take place. If you believe it and you put action behind it, manifestation will follow. And that's what I need you to know. A lot of times people will quit right before the breakthrough and someone else can come behind them and pick up where they left off, take it and run with it, and it'll be a success because they were just that close to success, but they quit, they gave up too soon. So I want you to know that the frustration, the aggravation, the irritation, the disappointment, the hurt, all of the different emotions that you're going to feel, it's okay. But you cannot let it paralyze you. You cannot let those emotions and those feelings turn to fear. And that's what I'm trying to teach you not to do. I want you to learn to write down on a piece of paper. And this is what this particular video is all about. It's helping you to keep from being stuck, to keep you from wanting just to take the cover and cover up your head that day. When you have negatives, which you will have, first of all, you have to acknowledge that every successful person has failed at something. Every successful person, if you talk to them, they fail 100 times or more before they were ever successful. And so you need to understand that. But I also want you to understand that a failure is not a failure unless you quit. If you get up and you keep moving, that was just a lesson. If you get up and you keep fighting and you keep striving, that was just a lesson. So you could call it a failure lesson, but it's only a failure when you give up and you stop moving forward because you have accepted that as your reality. You do not have to accept failure as your reality. You need to keep moving. You need to keep working at it, and you need to keep perfecting your craft. So when you come up against all of these negative things like I was facing on the other day that I was talking to you about, I had at least 12 negative things that had happened before 1 o'clock that particular day. And instead of becoming fearful, I was irritated, I was frustrated, I was hurt, I was disappointed, I was a lot of different things, but fear is the one thing that I refuse to let enter in. Remember, you have to change the information that you're putting in your mind. So as I sat down and I was looking at it, I said, okay, I need to take these 12 negative things and I need to turn them into a positive. So I sat down and I wrote all 12 negative things. And then I asked the question, because I did them one at a time. So I asked the question, this is negative. Why is it negative? Okay, I did not get my expected outcome from this. Is it anything that I can do to turn this around? Is it absolutely anything that I can do to get this from the red to the black? Is it anything that I can do? Am I looking at it wrong? Is this truly a negative, or is this just simply something that pointed me back in the direction that I needed to go? So when I finished that one, I went to the second one and I asked the same identical question. And so by the time that I got to the end of all 12, asking myself the same question, and you're going to write down and you're going to turn it to a positive. You're going to take that negative, you're going to turn it to a positive. And on some of them, I had to actually go do some research to look and see, well, why did this not work? And what about it did I not do correctly? Maybe I just need to change a couple of things. And so some of the things I changed, and some of the things it just needed a little tweaking. But I ended up, out of 12 things, I ended up being able to turn 11 out of 12 from a negative to a positive and make it work for my company. The one thing that I couldn't turn to a positive, I looked at it and asked, how important is this item? Just how important is this item to me personally? How important is this item to me and my business as a whole? And what I found, the one that I could not turn around and get a positive out of it by changing something, redoing something, coming up with a different strategy, but after the same goal, refining, critiquing, you have to do a lot of that. So the one that I could not turn from a negative to a positive, I figured out that it was good that it was a negative, because when I went back and I did the research and I looked at it, it would have ended up, it might have looked good in the beginning and it might have been okay in the beginning. And keep in mind, I said, okay, I didn't say it was going to be great or anything else, but it would have just been okay in the beginning. But in the long run, it was not going to be good for me or the company. And so I was happy that something that I was upset about, that I considered to be a negative and that I couldn't turn around, was something that the company nor myself really needed in the first place. So I want you to learn to change your negatives to positive. I want you to get in the practice of going back, researching the things that you feel is a negative. Figure out why you think they are negative. You have to know your goal. You have to know the benefits that it was going to bring. And you have to know your expected goal or your expected outcome that you was expecting. It allows you to put in corrective plan of action. It allows you to revisit it and look at it. And it allows you to make a better informed and a more informed decision for yourself and for your company. And so that's what I want you to be mindful of, that you can turn a negative to a positive. You just have to look to find the solution. Remember, we solve problems. If you have a problem, we have the solution. This has been One Life Agency. We have enjoyed this segment with you. We just look forward to continued working with you. You can reach us on the World Wide Web at onelifeagency.com. And again, we really are excited about you taking this opportunity to invest in yourself and to be the one life that you want. Remember to live your life on purpose, live it intentionally, live it and walk in your greatness. And remember, above all else, to thine own self be true. Be one life. Talk to you soon.